about a few items before I received those comments from the commissioners. Last week, Muskegon residents went to the poll and voted on 4 city ballot proposals. It's important that the City Commission give serious consideration on how to address each one going forward, and I would like to offer some thoughts for the commissioners to consider. Proposal 1 was the elimination of civil service. The proposal was handily defeated once again. It's clear that Muskegon residents do not want to eliminate the civil service anytime soon, and I don't believe that we should consider such a proposal in the near future. Perhaps we can look at modification of civil service and look at ways that we could streamline or modernize it at some point down the road. Proposal 2 and 3 were actually tied together. Number 2 was the proposal to authorize a millage increase up to 0.1 mils for senior transportation, and it did pass. However, number 3 was the proposal that would cap the city's millage at 10 mils. This proposal had to pass in order for the approval of proposal 2. Unfortunately, it did not pass. You'll remember that the senior transit program was slated for elimination as part of the 2012-2013 budget. The program was continued through the end of this calendar year to give an opportunity for this vote. Due to the outcome of those 2 proposals, I believe we should move forward with discontinuing the program. On proposal 4, the rezoning of the former Sappi property was taken up. The residents voted in favor of that rezoning. However, the potential ramifications of whatever our next steps are on this matter need to be sorted out. Therefore, I'm directing city staff and legal counsel to provide the City Commission with a memorandum outlining possible options, and we will begin discussing them at our work session in December, which would be the Monday the 10th. I'll take any other new business or comments.
Just one, and thank you. I see where we have a copy of a letter here as well. I get more calls here than they did as Commissioner of Ward 3. So anyway, I've gotten some calls from the folks in Glenside about, and I'm not sure there's a real understanding what the concern is. They understand trees will be taken out as part of the Wickham reconstruction. What they're concerned about is when the trees are removed because of oak wilt. Oak wilt, for those of you who may not know, is a disease that's endemic throughout North America. If you wound or prune or otherwise do major trimmings on an oak tree while it's active, basically from spring to fall, that makes that tree vulnerable to oak wilt, and it then can spread to other trees in the immediate area that may have lost a limb or so on. So their concern is that they would like the tree removal done while the trees are dormant, which would mean sometime this winter or very early spring, because they're worried about the other trees in the area that could be harmed if there's an outbreak of oak wilt in that particular neighborhood, since probably 70 or 80% of the trees are oak trees. So I know that they've requested that either Muhammad Al-Shatal or a member of his department come and talk to them at the neighborhood association meeting. Hopefully somebody can be there to hear their concerns and help explain to them what the process is going to be for that street project. But that's their main concern. It's not so much that, oh, they're going to worry about this tree or that tree coming down. They would like whatever trees are going to be removed in a way that minimizes the potential for the spread of that oak. Thank you, Rick. That's all.
I may just add to that. I was at that meeting when that was discussed, and I've been in discussion with Mohammed, and he has agreed to attend Glenside meeting on the 28th of November.
Commissioners?
Just a comment. I participated recently in a program offered by the city known as the Citizens Police Academy. And I would like to, can you not hear me? I recently attended a program offered by the city called the Citizens Police Academy. And Chief Lewis is here, and his department runs that program. It goes for 10 weeks. It's provided free to citizens that put in an application, provide their information. And it's a very well-run program, and I really encourage anybody that's here today who's a resident of the city of Muskegon to attend it. We went over 10 weeks, and we discussed just about everything that our city does in the way of public safety, how things are processed, the best ways to contact 911, how to help your fellow citizens out when there is a crisis, and how our responders respond to emergencies. So I really would recommend that anyone here go through that class. Through that class, I was offered and participated in a ride-along with state police staff, and I really enjoyed that because it really gave me an opportunity to see the city from the side of a police officer. I think that's something that some of our citizens would really use. So I just want to point that out.
Anything else from the commission? We'll move on to public comment. Larry Page?
Yes, a public comment already. Public comment.
Larry, will you be speaking on behalf of organizations tonight?
Yes, I do.
Okay. If I could have you take the podium.
I don't think I'll take.
Please give your name and address.
My name is Larry Page, and I live at 3328 Wilcox Avenue in Muskegon. And I am here this evening to strongly and unequivocally advocate to you members of the City Commission for the ratification of ballot proposal 4, which was passed on November 6, 2012. The wording of this proposal is as follows, leaving out the long legal description of the property. Shall the zoning map of the city of Muskegon, Michigan be amended to rezone the following described property from general industrial I-2 to waterfront marine, then the property is described. This wording is clear, it's succinct, and it's very understandable. This proposal was passed on November 6th by a margin of 6,901 for to 5,130 against, which is a 57.4 majority. It was passed in all 14 precincts of the city, including all 4 of the city wards. It was passed despite an overwhelming climate of no votes, which defeated 6 state measures, 1 county measures, and 2 other local measures proposed by city administration. Of all the measures proposed to the City of Muskegon voters, your constituents, only Proposal 4, the important rezoning issue, was adopted. This ballot proposal was instituted to correct the important task left undone by city administration and called for by the city's master plan, the city's master land use plan of 1997. Let me read from this document very briefly. The plan also provides, it refers to S.D. Warren. The plan also provides a future use of the S.D. Warren site should the facility at some point in time cease to exist. The plan recommends that future use of the site not be oriented to industrial development. Future development should occur in a manner consistent with the character of the surrounding areas, recognize and protect the integrity of the Muskegon Lake and be consistent with anticipated and desired lakeshore development. It goes on to suggest that the site could be developed for multi-story, multi-family use with little visual impact on upland residential areas. The paper mill, now Sappi, permanently closed its operations on August 26, 2009. City administration failed to take the action necessary to change the zoning to permit other than industrial use, leaving the dangerous I-2 industrial zoning in place. This measure is not an attack on the present owner. It doesn't matter who owns the property, the zoning must be changed. However, the voters are alarmed by the owner's business plan, which calls for an ongoing scrap metal processing and shipping facility on this site. City administration has made its case against the passage of Proposal 4, asserting that it might lead to litigation by the present owner, or that it could disrupt the ongoing negotiations between the city administration and the present owner. All this is conjecture and was rejected by the voters. Also, the claim by some that this vote was advisory only is patently false. The intent of the proposal was not to be advisory only. The intent was that it would carry the full force of the law and should be regarded by the city as such. Nothing in the wording of the proposal suggests that it is advisory only. In closing, let me directly address the commission elected members. This meeting is not yet adjourned. I call upon this commission to support the vote of the majority of your constituents and here and now vote to ratify this proposal. Doing so will leave for you a legacy of protection of this valuable property in our beloved Muskegon Lake, which it borders. Not hearing a motion to rezone, I would respectfully ask that this be put on the agenda in a very early future meeting. This matter has already been 3 years overdue since August the 26th of 2009, and it's high time we did something about it. Thank you very much.
Yay. We will be taking this up on our December 10th work session, having directed staff and legal counsel to prepare a memorandum for us to begin working with that. Thank you. Ms. Ann Fish? If I could just have your full name and your address, please.
My name is Ann Fish. I live at 1213 West Dale Avenue in Muskegon, 49441. I'm here to speak for myself and hundreds of other people who will be damaged by the ending of senior transit. I'm almost 84 years old, and I have macular degeneration. I'm legally blind. I'm pretty deaf, and I got off to a great start by forgetting to turn off my phone, my cell phone. That wasn't nice of me. Forget things. And the go bus is not an option for me because they just pick you up and drop you off. I also have a disintegrating spine, which makes things hard. And I've had 27 needles in my eyes to help save what vision I have left. And when they do both eyes, the whole world is a blur. And the senior transit drivers come in and actually take me out to the car after I've had the procedure. And take me right into my house, unlock the door, and get me safely into my house because I can't see the doorknob even. And there are hundreds of others who are like me. And also, I'm not allowed to lift over 10 pounds because I've had 2 heart attacks. And when they take me to get groceries, they load them up and they bring them into my home. And it is a wonderful service, and I'm very upset that it's going to be stopped because all of my kids live out of town. I live alone, except for 5 rescue animals. And I need senior transit, and I know that there are hundreds of other people in town who are unable to use the GO bus because you just get picked up and dropped off. And I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Ms. Fish. Ms. Fisher, you can hold on for a little bit. Forget about calling a taxi. We'll take care of you at the end of the meeting. So don't bother calling a taxi. If you can hold on for a few minutes, I'll take care of you after the meeting. Okay? We're almost there. Okay?
Thank you so
That's
much.
right. All right. Thank you. Ms. Pat Houseman?
Hi, I'm Pat Houseman. I'm at 661 Evanston Avenue. Well, I'm back. But this time I brought neighbors. If everybody from Angell School District, you guys could just stand so that you can see who you are. And this groundwater contamination thing doesn't just affect me, it affects all of them, plus probably 150 more folks. My statement today is, when are you going to give us an answer why it's taken so long to notify us of the contamination? When you know people were using their wells to water their grass, gardens, and taking a drink on a hot day from their hose. There are residents in just about every block who have had cancer or lost a loved one from cancer or other diseases. I have a neighbor, Clifford Angell, who wanted to be mentioned today because he wanted everyone to know how mad he is. Clifford is being treated for liver disease that could turn into cancer. The doctors told him that these toxic chemicals could be a contributing factor to his illness. When is the city, the MDEQ, and burgess-norton going to take accountability for your actions or lack of action? It appears that burgess-norton thought they could get away with just paying for a cleanup cost. The MDEQ never fined them or reported it to the EPA, and the city of Muskegon, you guys sat back and did nothing. It's just not our properties, it's our lives too. You need to give us some answers. Thank you.
burgess-norton at the same time that the potentially affected property owners did about a year ago. And they're working with the DEQ and will continue to do so. And as public, we need to hold the DEQ to those high standards. The city, as much as the citizens, are reliant on that super agency being the DEQ in the state of Michigan. So continue to communicate with them, and let's all make sure they're doing, the job that they're charged with. Commissioner?
I did speak with a couple of citizens regarding the situation after the last meeting, and I have made some contacts regarding the situation. I would like to coordinate with the Angell neighborhood for your next neighborhood meeting. I contacted Vicki at the Public Health Department for the County of Muskegon, and she would like to meet with citizens and be able to discuss their specific concerns so that we can sort out what residents may or may not be utilizing wells for inappropriate purposes so that we can protect them from those uses, as well as discuss what hazards we might try to avoid and how we can work on the problem in the future. So I'm going to continue to coordinate that. I ask any residents who are willing to go to that meeting to stay afterwards or to leave their name so that we can make sure that we get with you and work on this moving forward.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Nye?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Roger Nye. I live at 1495 Westwood Circle in Norton Shores. I also am a member of Occupy Muskegon.
Yay!
In observing the proceedings of this elected body, we have over time discerned an ongoing pattern of what seems to be indifference to the common good and a desire to frustrate democracy. It's not just your snow removal policy, which puts children and seniors into the middle of the street where they risk being run over and killed. My friend Morning Bear, along with a long record of service to this community, mentioned this at a previous meeting, and her good advice was flagrantly disregarded. There's also the three other principal issues that have drawn so many of us here tonight. First of these other issues is the ballot chicanery, which has derailed the senior transit program. The people's will appears pretty clear. They voted for senior transit.
Right.
And you know it. You should make this right, the sooner the better. Second issue is the groundwater contamination with TCE and other chemicals in the Angell neighborhood, and the city government's role in apparently participating in collusion with Burgess-Norton Corporation and the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality in covering it up, thereby endangering the health and lives of hundreds of people who have come into contact with toxic, cancer-causing chemicals through their daily activities. The impact on residential real estate values in this part of town is sure to reverberate for years. We don't know how many people have died or will die of cancer as a result of this betrayal. The third issue is that of rezoning the former Sappi property. The people have spoken at the ballot box loudly and clearly in every precinct of this city. They have made the 100-year decision you were afraid to make. They don't want the city's lakeshore marred by toxic waste dumps and scrapyards. Please figure that into your upcoming deliberations on this topic. You will have a moral duty to rezone this property or to resign your office. Thank you.
Yeah! Mr. Mills?
My name's Dan Mills, 49445. This thing's on.
It's on.
It's on, Dan.
Don't play games.
I hope it's okay. I'm from 49445. I mean, the sign said Occupy Muskegon, so Anyway, I've been in Occupy Muskegon for a year. Occupy Muskegon's been around for a year now. And I've been in it. And in that time, I've noticed actually steady crowds of citizens gathering to make their will known to you. that, for instance, that they want that Sappi, former Sappi property site rezoned. And incidentally, citizens, you'll remember, at least in the textbooks when I went to school, they said that the people were the ones who ultimately had the power of democracy. You might want to think about that one. Anyway, in all this time, here we are still. And you would think that you might learn a couple of three things from this. One is that it doesn't look like we're going to go away anytime soon. And number two is that we probably learned a few things in this time. Like, for instance, the history of what's been going on. Like with, for instance, Every Woman's Place, the way you rezoned that out from under them. And what has happened and what works and what doesn't work and who can help us. These are the things that we've been learning. Now, you're looking at vitalize, engage, voting population here. Reinvigorated. Anyway, you don't need me to remind you that, as Larry Page said, heavy voter turnout. In the face of this, all precincts voted to rezone that property to waterfront marine. And you don't need me to remind you that this has been in the face of steady propagandizing from MLive, aka Advanced Publications. And you don't need me to remind you that there was a long list of other proposals that all went to the negative. In the face of all of this, the voters just resoundingly voiced their directive to you to rezone that property. Now, we, the people, expect that you would react appropriately or respond appropriately. Actually, the truth is, when I'm getting together with people, and I know a lot of people, what people really actually expect is that you'll continue, in the face of this, your foot dragging, double talking, outright lies. The people that I meet, and I'm not making this up, they say things like, is it because they're really that slothful? Or are they really that stupid? Or are they really sold out? So that's the SOSOS, I guess. I'm not making this up. Anyway, in the face of this, in the face of this resolve from the people, if you do continue this foot dragging and stonewalling and that sort of thing, double talking, saying one thing and doing another, I wouldn't be concerned that there's going to be litigation that's going to cost the city a lot of money. I wouldn't be concerned that there's going to be a recall election for every one of you that's going to cost the city a lot of money. I'd be concerned for you that there will be torches and pitchforks and your cars burning in the parking lot.
Excuse me.
I don't know. I'll ask what I think.
Well, that really helps your credibility. Are there any other members of the public that would like to qualify? Dave?
Hard act.
If we could just have your name and address, sir.
I'm Dave Hawkins. I live at 1450 Lakeshore Drive. I have copies of something. And I'm here because of the Sappi property. And I know the Sappi thing kind of has tentacles that go all over, property tax, city income tax. And now we got a railroad problem. That old track that used to service Sappi is now a storage yard for old, unused railroad cars. And there are 39 of them that were delivered the other day. So this track that's unused that I was going to complain about and try to get removed because it's not maintained and hasn't been maintained, doesn't meet the standards that the railroad sets, is now a storage yard for unused cars. There were 39 old hopper cars that were delivered down onto that railroad bed, that unmaintained railroad bed that used to service Sappi. So I don't know if an unused railroad bed actually belongs to the railroad. The city staff seems to think it does. I've done some research. It appears that the bed may be part of some ancient granting of rights to use for railroad purposes. but I'm not sure that storing old railroad cars is really railroad purposes. I know if I had an old car in my driveway, you'd come after me. So, anyway, so I'd ask that the city take a look at this. And I'd like to get that, you know, if we rezone the Sappi property, one of the things that probably ought to go away is that railroad bed, because we may not need it. So, thank you very much for your consideration.
I do have some response to that, because it had been brought to our attention, and contact has been made with Mid-Michigan Railroad. And the contact person at that point said that they are storing cars for the time being, and you're right, there are 39 cars. They weren't specific as to the longevity of the storage. We were thinking that the impression we were getting that wasn't a permanent thing. We will be doing additional research to see what our authority is when it comes to telling what the railroad can or cannot do with their property. A lot of that comes under federal rules. That's why it takes so long to get a railroad crossing paved after we do a job. And in the long run, maybe we will be able to appeal to the railroad and hopefully touch their heart.
They don't belong on the lake shore. I mean, all the money we spent trying to clean up the lake shore, and now we got old railroad cars. It just brings tears to your eyes, you know?
Yeah, and I agree. You know, in my own experience, when I moved there in 1985, they often would park the cars or the railroad cars down there from time to time, but it's been such a long period.
If 30% of the railroad cars in the U.S. are idled, chances are, temporary, might be longer than I have yet to live.
Well,
Railroads go a long way, you know.
I've grown accustomed to your face.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Well, we will continue to make inquiries and get the scoop on it. Are there any other members of the public that would like to do this? Mr. Larson? Can I get you a hand?
I'm just getting old, I'm not crippled. Sitting so long, my foot won't sleep. I had no, Bill Larson, 1555 Randolph. I had no intention to speak, but I will now. I talked to Mr. Page the other day, and they had a meeting last night. We wanted to talk with one voice, and a voice that was clear to work with the city to try and establish what we want to establish. And you've said you're going to have a work session. I respect that. I'm sure many of us will be here. You know, I apologize that somebody would come up and denigrate the city commission that I served 8 years on, and I apologize for his behavior.
What about yours? Thank you. Before you speak, could Commissioner make
Just
a
a
quick
quick
comment?
comment following the gentleman, if you don't mind, real quick. There have been several comments regarding the city, and I just wanted to remind people that we are not the city, we are your city, and we certainly are here because we were either elected or we were accepted for a short period of time. And so I just want to throw that back out to people that under no circumstances should we be considered the city. We are certainly your city, and it is up to the people here to determine how it is run. So.
Hi, I was wondering if there's, Morning Bear, 529 Houston, don't throw anything in my car window. I want to know if there's any way that all of you could get engaged and involved. I'm trying to have some fundraisers from the people who did vote yes to save the senior transit. I'd put money in a bucket. I know a lot of people in this city, if there was an organized group collecting the money, we would donate to save the senior transit. So, you know, it would have to be the city that does this because the money needs to come to you. So why won't you maybe get together and figure out a way that we can donate money, and let's save the senior transit. There are too many seniors that depend on it. There's not enough volunteers to get them where they need to be, and I'd much rather give you guys $100 than sit and worry about what's going to happen with our seniors. We have to find a way to save this. I don't care what the budget says. If that many people voted yes, that many people are going to give you money. So would you consider that?
See what options we have. We had earlier challenged a number of proponents that in the 5 months that we had the budget deliberations, that if they had any good ideas as far as funding to please develop those and bring them up even prior to the vote, but we hadn't heard from anyone.
Well, I was busy. I didn't know that. No, I'm serious.
No.
If we had some buckets in the banks, because you know they're safe in the banks, if people knew what they were really donating to, we might be able to come up with it. You know, if there was really a planned, organized place to drop off the money. I don't mean grocery stores or quick stuff, but actual banks. And it would be up to you guys to organize that, because the money's coming to you. So please,
See me after the meeting.
get some buckets. Thank you.
I would like to add something.
Ms. Fish, yes, could I go back to the podium? You know what? Forget it.
Sorry.
Speak from where you're at now.
I can get back there.
I was giving you some leeway.
I can see the big stuff, it's the little stuff that gets it. I was a teacher of speech, language, and hearing impaired all over Muskegon. And when the kids didn't have clothes, I sewed clothes for them. They didn't have snowsuits, I made them for them. If they needed boots, I bought them for them. I know there are hundreds of other elderly people who have done wonderful things in this city. And senior transit seems a small thing to pay us back for what we've done. I have had 3 do-it-yourself children, 2 adopted hard-to-place children, 1 fetal drug, the other fetal alcohol, and 9 foster children who were either burned, beaten, or broken when they were brought to me to heal them so they could go to permanent homes. And I know there are so many older people who have done good things that I'd like to see senior transit get, for the sake of what we have done that's helped to make this city a better place for all of you to live. Thank you.
David 9, 1495 Westwood Circle, Norton Shores. Once again, my friend Dan Mills has put his foot in a little bit, so I do have to apologize for that. He's harmless.
Hey.
At the same time, his concerns are extremely genuine. And his assessment of the popular mood towards this city commission is pretty spot on as far as I can tell. What I have to say is, the people have demonstrated that if you people fail to do your jobs, if you people ignore the will of the people, what needs to get done will get done. Senior transit will be saved by donations, putting your board to shame. The rezoning of this piece of property, the Sappi property, will, if not enacted by your board, end up in litigation. That is a promise. And finally, the legal situation you have put yourselves in by your failure to address the issue of groundwater contamination with Burgess-Norton is something that is entirely out of our hands, but I will say that we will do our best to publicize the truth and make it known. Now, we should not be needing to do all of these things. If our city government functioned effectively, none of this would be necessary. However, we have demonstrated that we will step up to the plate when it becomes a matter of necessity. And I want all of you to realize the situation and to start thinking about ways in which you can proactively address issues such as this so that we do not have to. Thank you very much.
Yay!
Okay.
I didn't expect to say anything either.
No break.
Well, I'm kind of excited. Mole Belt Camp, 592 West Muskegon. Last house on the right. I've been listening. My background is environmental design. That's the human and the environment. That's not weeds, seeds, flowers, bushes. Okay, forget about that. People are speaking out, they're voting, they want something. Here's what I see. I see we started with timber 130 years ago, and now we're demolishing the last element of what's done with timber. Okay? It's like a 130-year story, and now it's done. The Sappi paper mill is coming down. The last connection we have to timber is gone, right? We still have foundries because we still have sand. I'm a little disappointed that some of the leadership groups in this community have not said, gee, everything has to be made. Everything in Muskegon can be made. A vast number of things can be made. Why aren't we assembling the energies of the noble worker to make more things? Okay? So I'm disappointed in the lack of collecting the energies and the noble work ethic of the people in this community that can make anything you need. They can weld it, bend it, stamp it, twist it, heat treat it, shoot it to the bone and back. There's miraculous people here, right? I've been impressed with the demonstrative energies of those who don't forget our veterans. Again, the flags over the causeway. I've never seen that in my life until I came to Muskegon. I mean, there's really an attitude. I love attitudes like this. But back to Sappi. We started cutting down the timber, which some people would today call environmental rape. But now we're to a point where the mill that used the wood to produce the paper is gone. So we've gone from the first page of a book to the last page of a book. And I don't want to say let's turn the page. I don't want to say let's write a new chapter. I want to say let's write a new book. Now, here's what's standing in the way. You guys are not a failure. There is a vision out there that I'm willing to begin working on to articulate as an environmental designer. And it involves people in a process, a long process. Let's call it a 5-year process, where many of us stumbled into a little bit of understanding at a time. We move forward with a little more agreement each week or each day. But we put our thoughts out 5 years, and we say, what do we want on the Sappi property? First of all, we want to call it something else. Okay? Because we're closing the book. We have to invent a new Muskegon. We need information, education, inspiration, commitment, enthusiasm, and belief. We need belief in you folks. Don't we? You're not a failure. Here's the problem. There's been a consistent problem. I've seen this going on for 10 years. Very big, strong expositions of energy from many, many people, and millions of dollars, and it doesn't seem like we've got what we really need to have said. We've reinvented ourselves. We have the buildings, we have the streets, but Muskegon still doesn't have a story, and we don't really seem to have any narrative about where we're going. We've got an energy center. We've got a water resource institute. We've got a urban design challenge downtown. But mostly, thanks Steve, this is my last sentence. Mostly, we have a vast dimension and gulf, socially speaking, between people in this Muskegon. Some of it's the presence of money, absence of money. Some of it's the presence of status, the absence of status. But there's a big gulf, a social disconnection between many people in this town. And if we could bring that together, and we could start to discover and learn and work, what is the vision of an energy center, the downtown urban challenge, a water resource institute? What is it, one in the world? Is this a long sentence? A lake that goes up to Houghton Lake, 100 ecosystems as you go around that. And I'm really describing a small university called Environmental Awareness Park, because there are hundreds of subjects that are pertinent and should be expanded and proclaimed to the United States of America. Not just the community. We've got subject matter that the nation needs. Water is important. Energy is important. Urban design is important, because that has to include everybody. That was a long sentence. Was that all one sentence?
I think so.
Thank you very much.
Some comments, though. Thank you all. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address the commission? Sir?
Thank you. Hello, my name's Dave Kurtz, and my address is 3640 Fulton in Muskegon. I've been reluctant to speak simply because I am a senior transit driver. But every day that I go to work, I see the infirmities and the difficulties people have getting around. And it's very unfortunate, and I think, from my standpoint, $70,000 is a small investment to make on people who have given so much. The other thing I would ask you to look at again, and it was evident on the ballot, Proposal 2 did pass, but if you look at Proposal 3 and the votes that went against it, the spread is huge. So it's apparent to me that even though some think it was clearly understood, it was not clearly understood. And I thank you for your time, and thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Karen Badera, 3302 Arlington Avenue in Muskegon. And I'd just like to say, quote Martin Luther King, who said, "It's always the right time to do the right thing." And I hope you will honor citizens of Muskegon and their vote to rezone, but also to provide the senior transit, because I think, I'm sorry that Bill left, Bill Larson, because I was talking to him about actually the planning and the zoning, but I said, well, what is proposal 3? Because I understood proposal 2 and voted for spending the transit, which I think people felt strongly about, and that's why it passed. But then 3, he didn't explain it to me that way. He explained it as like an operational millage, like, lights and everything else, and he didn't say, well, you have to do 3 to get 2. So I don't think it was clear to him even, who's on the City Planning Commission. It wasn't clear to me, and it wasn't clear to other people I've spoken with. I think the will of the people is to maintain the senior transit, to honor our seniors who have done so much, and also to rezone. So, thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Did I see one other? Yes, please.
Hello, excuse me. Hello, my name is Dylan Hawk. I live at 2019 Harrison Avenue. There's a number of things that have come up tonight, so I'll try to be quick. I want to echo Larry Page's sentiments. To a large degree, this has nothing to do with melting. This is between the people and the city. The people trying to right a mistake we feel that has passed by, that we would like to see curved. You were not even on the board when the decision was originally made, and that you're now in the hot seat, and I appreciate you taking that heat. But I would also, no reason you should, and there is every reason to accept the will of the people, to make a motion and to vote on behalf of this. There is talk. I know you may not care for my friend Daniel's style, but that does not negate his message. And believe me, we are out in the community. We are the community. We hear talk. People are not happy. We do not feel that we are being listened to. We've been coming here for a year, and still the city all suggested people vote against this. The Chronicle, which I've also had the same conversation with, told people to vote against it. And I said, you're living in a bottle. The people are screaming for the last year that this has got to change. Now, if you don't listen, people are going to get upset. And these things are going to happen, until you start listening. And people don't know if it's because you don't know the direction to go yourselves. And if that's the case, there's nothing to fear, because all you have to do is listen to the people. These are not your decisions. They're ours. We've made it. All you have to do is carry it out. That's your role. Solving the problems of Muskegon is not solely on your shoulders. It's on everybody's. And we come and we tell you and we give you ideas. For instance, the senior transit, my friend Roger and I certainly did come in and offer an idea for funding that many months ago. That, I guess, has been forgotten, but that did occur. So I just wanted to say, if you're looking for solutions as how this tango can end, all you have to do is listen to the people, carry out our wishes, regardless, even if there's a lawsuit. If the people say go for it, you've got nothing to lose. Who's going to vote you out for your next election when you're doing what they've asked you to do, even if it causes the city a lawsuit? Because from the way I see it right now, you're getting a lawsuit either way, either from the people or from melching. And I don't know who you'd rather stick up for, but I know who I'd vote for. So thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it's hard to take what you've been taking for the past hour. But this is what democracy looks like. This is the saying of Occupy. We have been here a year. We've been asking you. We've been trying to engage the community. There is a different paradigm now, not just here, in many cities and towns across the U.S. that are struggling to make the right decision for the future because they've been abandoned by manufacturing. They don't have the money to carry on. The important thing about the cities that are thriving out of these things is that they listen to the people. They listen to their heart. They make decisions based on what is the best for the community based on love. That's what is winning and working in the towns that are struggling and suffering. If you don't believe me, just Google stuff like that and watch YouTube videos, because there's a lot of towns that are struggling, and the ones that are working are coming together. They're using the brilliance of their community members. And we in Muskegon do have a lot of brilliant and creative people. We alone have come and brought you many solutions along the way in this last year. Now, if you do not listen to the will of the people, this is a dictatorship. And that's what they tried to do with the PA4. We rejected that. We don't want that. Mr. Spataro likes to use the word democracy often. This is what democracy looks like. We have voted. It's clear. Do the right thing, and the solutions will come down the road. That's the way life works. Now, the senior transit thing, I mean, were you not almost crying? I was crying. We cannot let this go, and it's something, I don't know who made up this way that they had it on the ballot, but it certainly should have been clearer. And these things like this is what makes conspiracy theories happen, because we look at it and we go, well, they didn't want to do it, and here's how they got out of it. You know, I don't know if that's the case, but, and we want to give you the benefit of the doubt. We want you to do, we want you to do what's right. Now, I feel like I can speak about the Sappi thing because that's our lake. It's not just Muskegon, City of Muskegon's lake, it's the whole county's lake, and we don't want it to be polluted anymore. So, I don't know. I hope you do the right thing, you know. I hope you follow your heart, and I hope your heart is filled with love. Oh, and don't bring up that damn civil service thing again. You have to make it happen. I'm going to tell you why. I don't trust what you're going to do with it. So start giving them a reason to trust you. And stop relying on city staff. They're not giving you good advice.
Yeah. Amen.
As a decision of the commission, after we've talked to the city staff, that the ultimate is our decision based on our heart or our gut reaction, or what we think is in the best interest of the city. And sometimes what we figure is in the best interest of the city is seen as somebody taking a hit, and somebody inevitably does. And I know it's cold, and I know that it's sterile, but many of you were here during the budget discussions, and damn it, if the reality of that doesn't hit home, then you're living in a fairyland, because everything relies on whether or not we have the resources to carry on the base functions of this city. And we went through 2 or more nights of discussion in the summertime, and it wasn't easy, and it wasn't nice. And we've done it again when it came to privatizing particular functions of this city government so that we can continue providing particular services. And that hurts because it actually affects people that we know and work with. But there isn't an individual up here that doesn't give a damn about this city, regardless of how many give-a-damn organizational meetings are being held down the block. Because, my friends, we're not from Mars, and I've said it before. We actually live down the street from Dave. You live down the street from some of these folks here in the same neighborhood. You do too, Sue. Commissioner Hood, you live next to some of these people in the potentially affected neighborhoods on the east end. Willie, you live right adjacent to the downtown. You give a damn, don't you?
What is he saying?
Commissioner Rakowski, you live over on the east end. You give a damn, don't you? We go home to these neighborhoods day in and day out. We talk to our friends, we talk to our neighbors, we take things under consideration. And yeah, so many of you may know what you consider to be better, but just sometimes, because the world isn't simple, we have more information. And we have to be considerate of all parties that are involved. Whether it be the electorate or considering the rights of a property owner under law.
What?
So we're going to go through these things diligently, and we'll bite our tongues when we're accused of being on the tape, or being somebody's patsy, or being demeaned, because it ain't the case, folks. Because at the end of the day, when I'm out of office, I don't pack up my bags and move across the corporate line to another municipality or a gated community. I stay here, I stay involved in my neighborhood association, I stay engaged with the friends that I've made at the administration level, at City Hall, who do a darn good job of getting out to the neighborhood associations and to people's doors and attempting their best to discharge the duties that they are charged with and paid them for. No. Thank you, commissioners, for being good friends, good neighbors, and going back to your neighborhoods in this city and doing your damnedest because you do give a damn. Commissioner Hood?
If nothing else, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's it.
Well, let it be known that they just denied Dan Mills the right to speak at the end of the meeting. That no by Mayor Gowan was that exactly.
Larry Page has been wanting this guy since. Yeah, I'm glad you came off. Yeah. Oh, I gotta talk to you.
I really need to get the insurance issues that have arisen. Real estate issues. I would like to get further. You could bring whoever.
Let's ask Larry if they get a hold of him.
Getting a hold of what? Oh, uh-huh.
You got a bunch more.
I've been here. They said you